An audio clip that was played during the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard has exposed what really happened to Depp's severed finger during his fight with Amber. According to Law and Crime Network, which, by the way, go check them out because they've done a terrific job of just covering this whole trial, but in a tweet they said, "In an audio recording played in court, Johnny Depp said, 'I'm talking about Australia the day that I chopped my finger off.' This specific audio recording was played to dispute Depp's claim that his finger had been severed during a fight with Amber. When Depp testified during his defamation trial, he was pressed about the infamous work trip to Australia where he was filming Pirates of the Caribbean. The actor claimed that his finger had been severed when his then wife threw a bottle of vodka at him in a fit of rage. During the trial, he said, "Amber threw the large bottle and it made contact and shattered everywhere. I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, and then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed." But Amber remained firm with her stance that Depp had cut his own finger, and another audio recording seemed to back this allegation up. The earlier clip was from an argument that the pair were having, and Amber's lawyer also showed another message where Depp admitted again to chopping his finger off. In the message he writes, "I taught yo pimp when he were a child. Sent huge text to Kipper, no response. He's an odd duck, old Kipper. This is the second time that he's held off giving me meds by blackmailing me into seeing him. The first time I had just chopped my finger off. Oh well, I want off the majority of the stuff anyway. I guess that's a new way to stop." However, when the audio clip finished, Depp fired back and said that he was simply talking about the day that he had his finger chopped off, not directly saying that he was the one who did it. Either way, the audio was pretty rough and you could actually barely hear anything because Heard and Depp were constantly speaking over each other the whole time. On top of this, Depp had previously stated that the only reason he lied about how his finger was injured was to protect his then wife. He said during his testimony, "I said that I had smashed it in these large accordion doors. I lied because I didn't want to disclose that it had been Miss Heard that had thrown a vodka bottle at me. I tried to just keep things as copacetic and as easy as possible for everyone. I did not want to put her name in that mix." He also went on to say that he used the severed finger to write confronting messages around the home after the alleged incident, which is a bit twisted if you ask me. In another tweet from Kathy Rusin, who is an executive producer at the Law and Crime Trial Network, she shared a photo of a bloodied lampshade and wrote, "This lampshade was on the floor at the Australia house. Johnny Depp admits to writing this in a mixture of paint and blood with his injured finger. Good luck and be careful at top. Depp says he wrote it. I thought it was good advice." When Johnny Depp took to the stand to testify against his ex-wife Amber Heard, more and more details were revealed about their toxic relationship, including how Depp believed that she was actually having an affair with James Franco. For those of you who don't know, James Franco and Amber Heard worked together in the 2015 film titled The Adderall Diaries, and Depp believes that the two of them had some sort of attraction to each other off screen. While addressing the courtroom, Depp revealed that this was often something that he and Amber would fight over. In fact, they fought so much that there was even an incident right before they flew from Boston to Los Angeles. Depp was also questioned a lot by Amber's lawyer about him feeling insecure whenever Amber would hang out with James Franco. That flight from Boston to LA, though, was one of those times where the pair fought over Heard hanging out with James. But the only thing that they really focused on in court was Johnny's intoxicated state of mind. He said to the courtroom, "I would not agree that I was very drunk on that flight. I had taken a double dose on that roxicodone, which is different than a blackout." Then following that statement, the jury was presented with text messages that Depp had sent to Heard the following day when they arrived on the West Coast. The text reads, "Once again, I find myself in a place of shame and regret. Of course, I am sorry. I really don't know why or what happened, but I will never do it again. I want to get better for you and for me. I must. My illness somehow crept up and grabbed me. I can't do it again. I can't live like that again. And I know you can't either. I must get better, and I will, for us both. Starting today, I love you. Again, I am so sorry. I love you and feel so bad for letting you down." Then when Amber did not respond to that message, he sent another one that said, "I see that understanding and forgiveness ain't on the menu. I'm disappointed to see that, but not too surprised, I suppose." Prior to all of this as well, Depp also touched on how he would often get intoxicated with his famous friends, which included Marilyn Manson and Paul Bettany. Regarding those insecurities, Heard's attorney grilled Depp about how he felt whenever Amber would hang out with her co-stars James Franco and Billy Bob Thornton. In addition to that 2015 film that she did with Franco, the pair also worked together in 2008 on Pineapple Express, and she worked with Billy Bob in the 2018 film called London Fields. Heard's lawyer cited a heated discussion that Depp and Amber had regarding a scene that she did with Franco. When asked about that, Depp responded that occasionally, yes it did, make him feel insecure when Heard was out with others. Her lawyer then presented an audio clip where Depp could be heard telling Amber, "I become irrational when you're doing movies. I become jealous and effing weird, and we fight a lot more." The more Johnny Depp talked talks about his relationship with his ex-wife Amber Heard, the more we begin to realize that this marriage was doomed to fail from the very beginning. For starters, let's go back to their wedding in 2015 and pick that apart for a moment. A court on Wednesday got to hear Johnny Depp testify that his and Amber's wedding had dinner, dancing, and all scheduled on the itinerary. Depp testified that there were a number of people at his wedding partaking in the latter, specifically MDMA, also known as ecstasy or malt. The wedding took place in LA in February in 2015, and prior to, Depp said that a schedule was written, printed, and sent out so that all of the guests would know about the debauchery that was going to take place that night. When asked though who exactly was partaking in the portion of the evening, Depp said that Amber, a couple friends of his, and a few other people. He then added that all of her gang though were partaking in the consumption of MDMA. Depp then was asked if he had taken any that day, and in response he said, "To be honest with you, I don't know how much MDMA they had, but for me for me to have taken MDMA would have been a waste of the if you understand what I mean. It would have been essentially taking someone else's high because it wouldn't have an effect on me." Throughout all of Johnny's testimony though, Amber remained very stone-faced and clearly was aware of the multiple cameras that were locked on her every reaction. At some point she even looked squarely at the camera almost lifelessly, staring into the lens for minutes at a time. And some networks even had split camera on Depp and hers so that you didn't miss a single reaction to what was being said. Continuing on though, Depp was asked again to answer which he had consumed, and he responded with, "I smoked and I don't remember drinking. I don't remember that I was drinking then. I'm pretty positive at that point I wasn't partaking in alcohol. My drug choice is marijuana. That was fine for me. So dipping into a little tiny baggie of licking your finger and dipping it into a tiny communal bag of MDMA, it was pointless for me." During the second day of his testimony in Fairfax, Virginia, Depp also stated that his daughter Lily Rose Depp had not attended his wedding to Heard. He said that she and Miss Heard were not on particularly great terms for several reasons. However, he did neglect to list those reasons. After detailing their early romance during his testimony, Depp also returned to the witness stand to describe how Amber's behavior had changed dramatically from the time that they got married. The couple would also have frequent arguments that included demeaning name-calling and bullying by Miss Heard. He also stated that the claims Heard made 6 years ago are not based in any species of truth. He went on to say, "Through my relationship there were arguments and things of that nature, but never did I myself reach the point of striking Miss Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman in my life. It was a complete shock that it just didn't need to go in that direction." He then reflected on how the news of Amber's accusations permeated the industry and made its way through social media on a global level. He adds, "Since I knew there was no truth to it whatsoever, I felt it was my responsibility to stand up for myself, not only in that instance, but to stand up for my children, who at the time were 14 and 16, so they were in high school. I thought it was diabolical that my children would have to go to school and have their friends or people in the school approach them with the infamous People magazine cover with Miss Heard with a dark bruise on her face." Now, a lot of people though wanted to know why would Johnny Depp stay with Amber Heard if she was in fact just hitting him on the regular. And in response to that, he said, "I stayed, I suppose, because my father stayed. I suppose because I had been in that relationship with Vanessa Paradis that was lost. I didn't want to fail. I wanted to try to make it work. I thought maybe I could help her. I thought maybe I could bring her around. The Amber Heard that I knew for the first year and a half was not this opponent. It wasn't my girl. She'd become my opponent. Everything I did, she didn't accept it. I stayed because, of course, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to hurt anyone, especially Miss Heard. I didn't want to break her heart." He also said that in addition to that, Amber would also threaten to take her own life if he were to leave. He goes on to say, "Many times when I would try to leave, she would stop me at the elevator with the security guards crying and screaming, saying, 'I can't live without you, I'm gonna die.' She had to get out." Depp also alleged that on a number of occasions he would manage to escape the home, but that she would inevitably arrive in front of his house screaming to the high heavens in the car park, sometimes in the early hours in the morning. Coming in number 10, text messages. A lot of high-profile celebrities are going to give testimony in a U.S. courtroom over the multi-million-dollar lawsuit between Johnny Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard. For Paul Bettany, this whole ordeal has been an absolute nightmare. Back in 2020, his private text messages with Johnny Depp about Amber were made public as evidence in the actor's libel case against The Sun. Paul said that the texts being revealed were embarrassing and that he didn't know Johnny when he was married to Amber, he only knew him before. In a 2016 Twitter post, Bettany had defended Depp and said, "Known Johnny Depp for years and through several relationships, he's the sweetest, kindest, gentlest man that I've ever known, just saying." Coming at number 9, admission of guilt. Dr. Laurel Anderson had worked with the former celebrity couple for a total of 21 sessions starting back in October of 2015. In a revealing video testimony during the defamation trial in Virginia, Dr. Anderson said, "I know she led the fights on more than one occasion and started it to keep him with her because abandonment and having him leave was her worst nightmare." She explained that Miss Heard told her that it was almost a point of pride for her. If she ever felt disrespected, she would initiate a fight, which she attributed to her father's own attacks on her when she was younger. What's wild though is this therapist saying that if she knew Johnny was going to leave, she would then just strike him because she would rather be in a fight than ever have him leave her. Coming number 8, stealing stories. Now if this one happens to be true, then Amber Heard is truly a terrible person. According to her former personal assistant, Kate James, Amber had stolen her story of SA. According to Kate, she had told her former boss about a time when she was held at machete point in Brazil. She then said how she was shocked to learn that in a witness statement, Heard allegedly misrepresented and exploited her story to gain sympathy in court. In her statement, Kate said, "She referred directly to a violent essay that occurred to me 26 years ago, and she twisted it into her own story, and she used it for her own use. I'm here for my own reasons. I'm a violent survivor, and that's very, very serious to take that stance if you are not one, and I am one. That's the reason I'm here, because I take offense." Coming to number 7, the police report. In April of last year, Johnny Depp had filed a defamation lawsuit against Amber for the $50 million after she wrote an opinion piece for the Washington Post about the duress that she was suffering from just being with him. As a result, Depp was fired from his role as Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and his reputation was severely tarnished in Hollywood. However, Depp's lawyers received a bombshell of an audio confession where Amber actually admits to hitting Johnny. In the audio, she says, "I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched." Later adding, "I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you." And following this, the hashtag Justice for Johnny began trending, with fans of his urging for her to not only be removed from the next Aquaman film, but also face criminal charges. In at number 6, the busted lip. The initial reports that came out against Johnny Depp were that he slapped Amber, dragged her by her hair through the apartment, and then repeatedly punched her in the head. When asked in the courtroom what injuries she had sustained, Amber said that she had 2 black eyes, a broken nose, a broken rib, bruises all over her body, and that Depp had busted up her lip. However, the problem with Amber's timeline is that when she alleged these events to have taken place, a video from that evening's festivities shows her on camera after the alleged fight and with no signs of bruising whatsoever, which led Depp's defense team to accuse Heard of building this new set of lies that all the attacks actually took place after everyone had left the home. The other way that she was caught lying, though, was when the lawyers cited her appearance on The Late Late Show with James Corden right after the allegations put Depp's alleged attacks around the same time. Coming number 5, false charity donations. If you remember, Amber Heard vowed to donate her $7 million divorce settlement to the ACLU and to the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. But according to Depp's lawyer, Andrew Caldecott, he said that the donation was a calculated and manipulative lie that tipped the scales against Johnny Depp from the very beginning. Depp's legal team then filed a petition with the New York Supreme Court to force the ACLU to actually hand over official documents that proved Amber's donation was indeed real. Not that long ago, though, the organization refused to cooperate, but with a judge ruling in favor of 23 out of the 24 requests in the motion to compel, they are legally going to have to cough up the receipts. The only request that the judge denied was for documents pertaining to Amber's sudden role as a brand ambassador for the ACLU. Not only is it morally reprehensible to take money you promised to a children's hospital, but it also means that people in the courtroom were manipulated into thinking that she was this super charitable person. At the end of the day, we will just have to wait and see, though, what the subpoena brings. I'm calling it now, though. If she is found to have lied about the donations and the ACLU can't even bring up legit receipts, then it could be game over for Amber Heard. In at number 4, Amber's blind rage. In addition to everything else that Kate James had exposed Amber for, she also said that she never saw the actress suffer any physical attacks at the hands of Johnny Depp, and then added that Amber once spit in her face when she asked for a higher salary. Not metaphorically either, she actually spit in her face. She also accused Heard of sending incoherent text messages at 4 a.m. Apparently, Amber would often descend into screaming fits of blind rage while she was intoxicated. In comparison, she said that Depp was always very calm and almost shy, describing him as a total Southern gentleman. Plus, she gave examples of Amber treating her own sister like a dog. Kate said that she was hired initially at $25 an hour, but that her duties consisted of picking up Amber's dry cleaning and talking with the actress's Hollywood agents. One time, though, she was asked to pick up 2 copies of any magazine that featured Amber in them and then keep them in the garage to prevent Depp from seeing them. Heard ended up fading into another blind rage though when Kate failed to hide the magazines in the garage. In number 3, Depp's neighbor. Isaac, who is Depp's longtime neighbor and friend, also took the stand during the defamation trial and testified that Amber had told him about Johnny throwing a phone at her and hitting her inside of the couple's LA penthouse. However, he also noted that he never noticed any evidence of the attacks on Heard's face, both when he first saw her in the hallway or the following day in the sunlit lobby of their building. He went on to say, "She's got her face out like this to show me, and I'm looking and I inspect her face and I don't see anything. I don't see a cut, a bruise, swelling, or redness." In number 2, friends with the judge. When it comes to being a judge, there is one thing that you need to be: objective. You cannot make a rational decision if there is a conflict of interest involved. Justice Nickel, who decided the Sun's article about Depp was substantially true, came under fire for his decision after it was revealed that he had links to Amber Heard. Not only that, but he co-wrote a book on media law with Geoffrey Robertson, whose wife was friendly with Jennifer Robinson, a barrister who had advised Amber Heard. Depp's legal team claimed that Nickel failed to undertake any or an inadequate analysis of Miss Heard's shifting accounts, despite the importance of consistency as a consideration of a witness testimony. Plus, Depp's barrister added, he excluded relevant evidence from his consideration, ignored or dismissed as irrelevant matters that substantially undermine Miss Heard, made findings unsupported by the evidence, and failed to assess whether her allegations could withstand proper scrutiny. The judge failed to properly assess her credibility by reference to documentary evidence, photographs, recordings, or otherwise. And last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, history of addiction. Another piece of this story that often gets overlooked is the history of addiction that certainly played a role in this messy divorce. Depp has acknowledged many times that he has tried to kick habits of heavy drug use during the period of his marriage, but added that he sometimes had lapsed. Amber, though, was not some drug-free saint that could just help him through this. In fact, one could argue that her addiction habits only helped fuel their toxic relationship. During one courtroom hearing, Depp claimed that Heard had chopped out lines of for him before rubbing some of the drug onto her own gums. Depp's lawyer also noted that Heard experienced anxiety, insecurity, and jealousy that would manifest itself in severe outbursts of anger and rage. When Sasha Wass said that Amber would often have 2 or 3 glasses of wine during an evening, Depp fired back with 2 or 3 bottles. Johnny Depp took to the stand the other day to testify on behalf of himself for this massive $50 million defamation trial against his ex-wife Amber Heard. In doing so, the general public learned a lot about Depp's unfortunate dark past. Before we dive into that dark past though, we need to talk about Depp claiming in court that he never laid a hand on Amber Heard. Depp called Heard's allegations against him quite heinous and disturbing. He also stated that the claims Heard made 6 years ago are not based in any species of truth. He went on to say, "Through the relationship, there were arguments and things of that nature, but never did I myself reach to the point of striking Miss Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman in my life. It was a complete shock that it would, it just didn't need to go in that direction." He then reflected on how the news of Amber's accusations permeated the industry and made its way through social media on a global level. He adds, "Since I knew there was no truth to it whatsoever, I felt it was my responsibility to stand up for myself, not only in that instance, but to stand up for my children, who at the time were 14 and 16, so they were in high school. I thought it was diabolical that my children would have to go to school and have their friends or people in the school approach them with the infamous People magazine cover with Miss Heard with a dark bruise on her face." The accusations and overall scandal regarding Depp continue to grow as more news outlets picked it up, and with the contrasting stories between Depp and Heard, it made things difficult for the general public to determine who exactly was at fault here. Depp went on to say, "So it was my responsibility, I felt, to not only attempt to clear my name for the sake of many reasons, but I wanted to clear my children of this horrid thing that they were having to read about their father, which was untrue." Not only that, but Depp also had to think about clearing his name amongst the people that he had befriended and given advice to during his 35 years in the entertainment industry. And he finally got his chance to do that when taking the stand. Despite the truth being quite exposing for not only him and his family, Depp stated that his goal is the truth and that he has become obsessed with it. He added, "My goal is the truth because it killed me that the people I'd spoken to over the years, all I could think was that those people would think that I was a fraud and that I had lied to them. And so I had to wait for my opportunity to address the charges, which were criminal charges, and they just weren't true. I felt the responsibility of clearing the record as the only way I could get to the point where I could speak. I didn't deserve that, nor did my children, nor did the people who believed in me for all these years. I didn't want any of those people to believe I'd done them wrong, lied to them, or was a fraud." Another big point of discussion in this case is Johnny Depp's childhood and his entry into becoming a movie star, specifically the terrible way that his own mother had treated him as a child. Depp recounted his mother saying to him, "She would call me cockeye, one-eye, anything she could to demean, to humiliate. The verbal abuse, the psychological abuse was almost worse than the beatings. The beatings were just physical pain, and physical pain you learn to deal with. You learn to accept it, you learn to deal with it. But the psychological and emotional abuse That's what kind of tore us up, I think. If you didn't know, Johnny Depp is nearly blind in one eye, and so his mother would often use that against him during arguments. Now, a lot of people, though, wanted to know why Depp would stay with Amber if she was in fact hitting him on the regular, and in response to that he said, "I stayed, I suppose, because my father stayed. I suppose because I had been in that relationship with Vanessa Paradis that was lost. I didn't want to fail. I wanted to try to make it work. I thought maybe I could help her. I thought maybe I could bring her around. The Amber Heard that I knew for the first year and a half was not this. Opponent. It wasn't my girl. She'd become my opponent. Everything I did, she didn't accept it. I stayed because, of course, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to hurt anyone, especially Miss Heard. I didn't want to break her heart." He also added that in addition to that, Amber would often threaten to take her own life if he were to leave. He goes on to say, "Many times when I would try to leave, she would stop me at the elevator with the security guards crying and screaming, 'I can't live without you, I'm gonna die.' She had to get out." Depp also alleged that on a number of occasions he would finally manage to escape, but that she would inevitably arrive in front of his house screaming to the high heavens in the car park, sometimes in the early hours of the morning. Johnny Depp will be taking the stand today to testify in his defamation lawsuit against his ex-wife Amber Heard. So far, a lot of their private conversations and behind-the-scenes antics have been exposed, but now Depp will finally get a chance to speak about the infamous defecation that he says ended the marriage. As you know, Johnny is suing Amber for $50 million, claiming that she had lied when accusing him of, let's call it, nefarious behavior. In a countersuit, though, she is also suing Depp for $100 million for defamation as well, saying that he had actually coordinated a smear campaign against her. And if that's the case, well then Mr. Depp, I'm still waiting for that check. There is a lot to this case, but one date in particular that has become a point of fixation is April 22nd, 2016. For those of you who don't know, April 22nd is Amber Heard's birthday, and so in 2016 she was throwing a party for herself at the couple's downtown LA penthouse. Depp ended up arriving late to the party and then decided that he wanted to bail early, which he claims enraged Amber. Heard then claimed that Depp threw a Magnum wine bottle at her before leaving. As per the reports, we learned that the couple's housekeeper had called Depp the following morning and told him that someone had actually pooped on his side of the bed and then put the blanket covers back over it. So he believes that Amber had done this so that when he came home and hopped into the bed, he would unknowingly be laying down onto, well, a pile of poop. Depp believes that either Amber or one of her friends had put the feces in the bed, but Amber is still maintaining that one of their Yorkshire Terriers was responsible instead. However, Depp has repeatedly rejected this claim and said that it was far too large to be coming from a 3 to 4 pound dog. This part of their dispute even came up in the UK trial when Johnny attempted to sue the Sun newspaper for defamation as well. Judge Nichol, though, who presided over the libel suit, weighed in on the incident and claimed that it couldn't have been Amber. The judge actually wrote that the couple's dog named Boo had an incomplete mastery of her bowels after she had accidentally consumed some marijuana. And as for why it couldn't have possibly been Amber Heard, well, he says that the prank would have been ineffective because she too would have had the displeasure of sleeping next to the poop, which, valid point, but we don't know the lengths that she was willing to go just to embarrass Johnny Depp. From Depp's perspective, he assumes that Amber or one of her friends put the poop in the bed to get back at him for skipping out on her 30th birthday party. Shortly after finding this, Depp ended up dumping Amber. What's strange, though, is that in this case, the judge didn't even address the fact that the housekeeper claimed she knew those dogs inside and out, meaning that even she knew their poops were usually quite small, and what she found in Johnny's bed was certainly not from one of those dogs. What's brutal is the feces were tossed out, so really there's no way that they could even test the DNA to confirm who actually was responsible for this. Either way, here's hoping that this time around the judge in Virginia can get to the bottom of who did this. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's marriage counselor took to the stand recently during their $50 million defamation trial and exposed some dark secrets about the couple. First of all, she said that while Amber had initiated the physical fights on more than one occasion, the couple did in fact engage in mutual attacks on one another. Dr. Laurel Anderson had worked with the former celebrity couple for a total of 21 sessions starting back in October of 2015. In a revealing video testimony during the defamation trial in Virginia, Dr. Anderson said, "I know she led the fights on more than one occasion and started it to keep him with her because abandonment and having him leave was her worst nightmare. She explained that Miss Heard told her that it was almost a point of pride for her. If she ever felt disrespected, she would then initiate a fight, which she attributed to her father's own attacks on her when she was younger. What's wild is this therapist saying that if she knew Johnny was going to leave, she would just strike him because she would rather be in a fight with him than ever have him leave her." When asked if it was her assessment that triggered Depp after he wasn't violent with any of his previous partners, Dr. Anderson said yes. She then went on to say, "He had been well controlled for almost 20-30 years and both Depp and Heard were victims of abuse in their homes. I thought he'd been well controlled for decades, and with Miss Heard he was triggered and they engaged in what I saw as mutual abuse. abuse. During their sessions, the marriage counselor gave the couple fake names. Amber was Ann Henry and Johnny was Joey Davis. It was meant to protect their identities, but with all of this coming out now in court, I suppose it doesn't really matter. In her notes though, she said that one time one of them walked out of the session, but she did not specify who it was. The counseling ended up continuing until about March of 2016 when one of their friends asked Dr. Anderson to make a house call, but she resisted because she had never done that before. She went on to say in her testimony, "I thought he, Depp, was having difficulty in the sessions, and I think it was something about the process between the two of them." When asked what the difficulty was, she explained that it was about him having a voice. She then equated Amber's communication style to that of a jackhammer. She would get very amped up, and so Depp would have trouble talking at a similar pace, and therefore would get cut off a lot while speaking. She continued and said, "I'm guessing this is what it was. This is how he didn't have a voice. He couldn't talk with her rapid-fire way of conversation, so he was really overwhelmed. Communication between these two was virtually impossible. They would just fire back and forth at each other during these counseling sessions, and even Dr. Anderson said that a conversation was impossible because Heard would constantly talk over Depp." During a session in the summer of 2016, Depp also told her about a massive fight that took place on Amber's 30th birthday on April 22nd. He described it as being chaotic and violent, but that Amber gave as good as she got. According to Dr. Anderson's notes, Amber eventually initiated the hitting herself and talked about trying to initiate a fight one evening by slapping Depp. In addition to that, she also shared an email from Amber in December of 2015, which she believes is right around the time that Depp and Heard's relationship started to turn sour. In the email, Amber writes, "Hey Laurel, I'm sorry to report that unfortunately things don't seem to be progressing well. I wish I could tell you why. I am sure from the time and type of messages I'm getting from him that his use is continuing and not helping. However, knowing this, I am still lost as to how to get through to him via text messages. This is the only form in which we have been communicating, and at least put off resolving this until after the holiday. Do you think that you would be able to speak by phone today or tomorrow? Or help me in any other way wrap my head around what to do? I do have my own therapist, but unfortunately the nuances and complexity of our relationship and subsequently my reaction are a bit lost on him. So without putting too much pressure on you and your otherwise peaceful holiday, can I ask for your help on the phone? Maybe I could show you our communication and you could tell me your advice. Any help would be appreciated. I feel so lost."